Hello guys, welcome to previous year question discussion. This is Dhanunjayareddy bringing you the previous year questions. So we are doing the previous year questions from 2023 to 1995 in two formats. So one is 2023 to 2008. Subsequently from 2008 to 1995, I am going to make videos for all the topics, not only for economics, for all the topics of UPSC. So in this context, what is important, guys? So what you are going to learn from this exercise, that is what I wanted to show to you people. So what to look? Importance of a particular topic in UPSC prelims, the scope of the subject, teaching of the subject through priority of questions, and knowing the techniques how to solve. If you go through all my lectures, at least 30 questions data will be available for the prelims. Very extremely useful series. Please keep an update on this regularly, so that I'm not making too much of questions every day. Small set of questions I am doing every day, so you can follow it. After this, what I am going to do, I am going to also give themes from the previous year questions and current affairs which are important for the present prelims 2024. So now this is not only for prelims 2024, so this will be for every year. Say for example, next year also, if you are preparing 2025, so this is the questions or themes that I have taken from previous years. So this will be useful for every year as long as you are writing the prelims. The only thing that we have to add is I will be adding 2000, if it is for next year, I will be adding the so-called current affairs of that year. So let's look. Already we have discussed this in my past videos until topic number 7. Let's look at topic number 8, which is important for UPSC. Concepts of national income. Please get this national income concepts very thorough. If you are not having these notes, you can download the notes from my previous discussion in the chat box or in the so-called commentary box. I have given that. In the description box I have given that notes. You can download it. Concept of national income through expenditure method, C plus I plus G plus X minus M, extremely important. Calculation of national income through expenditure method. Not that what they will ask is, they will ask you the substantiations of it. What happens when government is decreasing its investment, or when government is or public is reducing their consumption expenditure. So there will be some interpretations of it. We have seen number of questions in the last two videos depending on that. Then the relationship between the interest rates increase and decrease in an economy, how it is going to hit the consumption expenditure of the public, how it is going to hit the saving rate of the public, how it is going to increase the interest rates of the country, sorry, how it is going to increase the so-called investments into the country. So these things we have discussed, and whether it has some relations with the taxation structure or not, all these things we have covered. Another important area for UPSC. Fiscal policy is one of the most important thing. What is fiscal policy? Already we have discussed components and contents such as revenue receipts, capital receipts, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. We should be very thorough on that, and we should have some clarity. FRBM Act, very important again. So encasing committee recommendations, as far as FRBM committees is considered, we have to know that FRBM is not a new thing. It has been in India since 2003. This is through FRBM Act that Parliament of India is exercising control over the so-called executive on the so-called financial borrowings of the country. And borrowings, what are the different types of borrowings and what are the deficits that Government of India has over a period of time, that is also very important. Next, extremely important is, if in the budget, if there is any tax, that is very important. So it is like giving a toy to a child, right? How the child use that toy in the initial days. When the toy was bought, he will extensively use it, or she will extensively use it. Similarly, if there is a new tax, UPSC definitely uses it. Economic cycle, various terms on CCFP are important. So this is from my last two topics of discussion. What are the important things? Already we have discussed this. The rest of the things is for your revision. So this is the overlapping component, so that you prepare these components like this. There will be 100 topics or 150 topics in the entire economics. From the previous year questions, you have to understand this, and then you have to prepare. So this is the important questions, the second set of important questions along with the previous year questions. Now let's go for the continuation of our topic. So 2018 question number 6. So I have started fiscal policy. 5 questions were completed. This is question number 6. If you have not watched my earlier videos, 5 videos I have made. This is our 6th video. So you can watch them regularly, so that it will be helpful to reduce your burden also. Which among the above items are exempted under GST? So they are asking which are the items which are exempted under GST. So GST was introduced in the year 2017 or June or July 2017. Now the question was asked in 2018, right? So there was a similar question that they have asked even in 2017. So in 2017 and 18 there were questions on the so-called GST. This is what I said. Whenever a new tax structure is brought by the government, definitely UPSC will ask this question. This is one thing. In Telugu, there will be a quotation, right? కొత్త బిచ్చగానికి పొద్దెరగదు అన్నట్టు. So what does this mean? A new beggar will not know the timings when he has to come, right? Similarly, if it is a new tax, UPSC won't stop. They will ask the questions definitely. So this was clearly proven again here. So what is the underlying context? Whenever you are preparing the syllabus, in the budget, if there is a new tax that is announced, you have to exclusively focus on that because that question will be there. This is what the systematic analysis of previous year question. Now let's try to solve this question 2018. Now this 2018 question is like falling from the sky, right? Or it is like watching a Chinese film without subtitles. Why? No one will prepare this question. That is my meaning. Which among the following items are exempted under GST? Cereal grain halted or hulled, HULLED, fish processed and canned, chicken eggs cooked, and then fish processed and canned, newspaper containing advertising material. So they have given some options 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which are exempted under GST. Now one thing that you have to know is whenever they ask these type of questions, we don't prepare each and every item which is exempted from GST, but broadly what is the procedure to get to the nearest approximation of the answer. I am telling you the technique directly. See, we all know that GST government will tax only that items which are luxurious or which are generally used by the public. They don't on the regular items of the poor man's consumption, they don't hit or they don't tax it. So for the middle class people, they will tax it. That is what we know. So if something is exempted for GST, what does it mean? There should be some items which are used by the below poverty line people or the so-called somewhere around poverty line people. So these items they cannot tax. As a result, you have to look for that items if you don't know the answer, because no one knows this answer when before going to the UPSC. Now I can do a postmortem analysis. I can say that this is the answer. But if I am sitting in the examination hall along with you people, even I don't know how to answer this question, or I don't know directly from the syllabus, because we don't study this GST which are exempted. Why? There are 5 taxation structure: 0% taxation structure, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. Like this 5 taxation structure is present. How far we will remember which is at 28%? How far we remember that it is at somewhere around 18%, 12%, 5% or 0%? This is something which is really difficult. So, but what we can do is we can guess it. How we can guess? So this is the thing. If something is exempted under GST, it means that they are common man items. So what are the common man items here? Cereal grains, chicken eggs cooked, fish processed and canned, newspaper containing advertisement material. Now have a look at it. Which materials can be there? Always note that processed foods will be subjected to taxation. Processed foods, unlike your raw food, processed food always gets taxation, because food processing industry, that may be agricultural food processing industry, fish processing industry, meat processing industry, or anything, is an industrial based product, and industrial based products will be subjected to taxation. That is what you have to understand. So one thing is processed foods cannot be exempted under GST. So remove 3. You have 1 and you have 1, 2, 4. Now in this cereal grains halted, so grains that were halted means the husk of that grain is removed. Newspaper containing advertisement material. Newspaper is something which we all people will read. So common man reads it to enhance this knowledge. Now now government cannot tax it and overburden the students. This is the thing. Hence normally it is an exemption from this. So chicken eggs cooked. This is something which we get chicken and eggs cooked. We'll get some doubt whether this is going to be the item, but this is again a raw material, raw or primary source of food. so they will not be subjected to taxation. So if you remove 3, at least 1 and 4 we can guess. So 1 and 4 is present here. C is correct. So what is my strategy is, so whenever you don't know something, know what is this structure of tax is present, and then try to derive the question answers. Now even if you look at this thing, there are something that you can look here. Particularly look at for similar terms in the options. Similar terms are cereal grains. Grains are from primary activity, primary economic activity, that is from the so-called nature you are taking it. Chicken, eggs, cooked, right? Chicken and eggs, these are again primary. Now processing is secondary. Newspaper is also secondary, but the thing is newspaper is a common man item. So whenever you are subjected to tax, if they ask these type of things, which among the following are subjected to tax, which are exempted to tax, what you have to remember, look at whether they are common man items or whether they are something which in the middle class or the upper classes consuming. So common man items, so student items, they cannot tax heavily. As a result, they will be normally exempted. Until that we can eliminate this. Don't by heart the things. This is very hard to by heart and reproduce it, because the capital to output ratio in these type of questions, if you by heart, even if you by heart, that will be very less. So go with this process. So the answer is C. One more thing, uh, these type of questions they don't ask now, because I said this was introduced in 2017. So 2018 they asked, 2017 they asked. After that, look at 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. 5 years have been passed by. So they never asked this question, because even UPSC understood that the slabs in India were not fixed. So that does not play with the lives of the students, just like the government of India has played with the taxation structure with the different types of slabs when this GST was introduced. So leave it. This is not necessary. So this question won't ask, but GST is important, guys. GST, why this GST was implemented, how this GST was implemented, where it is there. I have clearly given in my class notes about the GST in detail. So what you have to know is, you have to know in detail about the GST. That is extremely important, guys. So GST, you have to study GST in and out. So I have already shared this in my class notes. You can have a look at it. Look at this. In the indirect taxes, I have discussed what exactly is GST, why GST has been come. So with all these different types of taxation system in India, there has been huge problems. As a result, the government of India has introduced the GST on this. So there will be one question, how it is going to be beneficial for the investors, how it is going to be beneficial for the consumers, how it is going to be beneficial to remove the regional imbalances. So with these things, GST was implemented on 1st July 2017. That is what we have to understand. So with all this, there is going to be ease of doing business. Next one, constitutional provisions of GST, what they have changed, right? 246A, 268A, 269. This is all static component of GST that they must ask. That is very important. And 279A, extremely important. GST Council. Article 280 is Finance Commission. 279 is GST Council. That is why it is important. It was introduced through 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, and it was introduced on 1st July 2017. Hence 1st July 2017 or 1st July is celebrated as GST Day. So GST compensation says, have a look at it, and then what are the slabs under this GST, how to remember. No need to remember each and everything. Just now I have given some definitions or some techniques to remember. Go ahead with that technique, that is going to help you. Now composition of GST Council and GST Council. What is this? Article 279A. So these things are very important, guys. Please have a quick revision in this notes or in whatever notes that you have. But this notes has systematic arrangement of each and everything. I have given everything in an order. Please download it. Have a quick recap about what it is. So there will be some probability of asking the questions, at least in GST. If not in these type of questions, they can ask something under GST. Why they can ask the GST? One thing that we have to understand is, recently in the year 2023, if you look at the GST revenues of the government, every month the government will be giving what is the GST revenues, right? Day before yesterday in the newspaper they have given what is this revenues. So in 2023 April, the highest amount of GSTs was collected for a month, that is 1.8 lakh crores was collected in 1 month, and this was a substantial increase compared to the so-called pre-GST era. Before GST was implemented, the government used to get around 75,000 crore rupees per month. But after introducing of GST, today you are receiving 1.8 lakh crores. In the month of April 2023, you received it, and the second highest was visible in the last month, that is October 2023, somewhere around rupees 1.72 lakh crores. Hence, this is absolutely new. So this year we can expect a GST question in this way, or GST is again in the news because GST Council has said that we are going to constitute certain tribunals to address the GST related dispute matters. So this is under discussion. Hence, there will be one definite question on GST. So this is what you have to understand and you have to prepare GST. So in the current affairs component, I am going to make it, but this is one question that we can expect. Next, seventh question. Tax revenue as a percentage of GDP, I said, has increased steadily in last decade. See, look at how many mistakes are there. If you don't know this, obviously I have discussed similar type of question in my first class. So if you are having a decadal time period, it is very difficult to maintain steadily. For example, if we are preparing for this exam, preparing steadily for 10 days is difficult. Now, how can a country like India have steady growth or steady fall for one decade? That cannot happen, which means 10 years or 3,650 days. For 10 days, we are unable to maintain consistency, right? For example, look at my videos. Day before yesterday, I did it. Yesterday, I have given a break, and now I am doing it. So everyone has their own constraints. Even economy will also be having its constraint. That too, when it says percentage rule or some percentage form, percentages cannot increase steadily, decrease steadily over a period of time. This is absolutely wrong. This is the concept. At least in absolute numbers, there is a chance, but in percentages, there is no chance. I have discussed the same thing in my lecture 1 because we have seen a similar type of question there. Fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP of India has steadily increased in the last decade. Again, as a percentage of GDP, nothing can increase steadily, or nothing can fall steadily in the decadal period. No, at least if it is for 2 years or 3 years, there will be a chance. But if it is for one decade, there will be no chance, or the chances will be very minutest of the minute. So blindly you can say this is wrong, this is wrong. Right, that is one thing. So both statements are wrong, hence nothing is correct in this. But have a look at it. What is the subject that you have to learn? Tax revenue as a percentage of GDP. Now tax to GDP. Again, this question was discussed. What do I mean by tax to GDP? Right? Tax revenue as a part of GDP means in the GDP, how much amount of money is getting contributed by the taxes. Say for example, my GDP is 100 rupees. If taxes in this GDP, if tax revenue is rupees 10, then tax to GDP is 10%. We have discussed a question. What does tax to GDP indicate? Right? A similar type of question we have seen. Please look at my previous videos. You will understand that. This is one question that you have to know. And fiscal deficit, I already said, you have to study the deficits of the country. What are the various types of deficits? These things, right? So suddenly increase cannot happen, but this is data. Now, what is tax revenue as a part of GDP? If we look from 2006 to 7 until 2017 and 18, one thing you have to observe is tax revenue as a part of GDP has been hogging around somewhere between 10 to 12%. That is what we can observe. So 10 to 13% at times. So tax as a part of GDP today in the country is somewhere around 12%. You can remember this. This type of questions can be asked. So in the total GDP of the country, what is the tax composition? This is 12%, around 12%. Remember that. This can be useful. This is the data that you have to remember. So even today, in the year 2023, though the data that you are seeing on the slide is until 2018, but still even today, what I can say is the tax to GDP in the country is somewhere around 10 to 13%. You can remember 13%. That can be most probably the correct answer. So this is one of the important topic. And the topics about tax to GDP is a repetitive topic. So you have to remember just like the GDP component. That is what I can substantiate in this question. But the technique is steadily over a decade, increase, decrease cannot happen. That is what the technique is. That too in terms of percentages. Let's look at the eighth question. What are the most likely advantages of implementing GST? So in 2017, they have asked this question. Now, why they have asked on 1st July 2017, GST was implemented. So we all know that GST is a positive thing. Look at the positive aspects in the syllabus or in the topics in the 1, 2, 3. Then we will come to know what is correct. It will replace multiple tax collected by multiple authorities and will thus create a single market in India. Hence, that is the reason why GST is known as one nation, one tax regime. Why you call GST as one nation, one tax? Because it is a uniform taxation structure across the country. So as this is one nation, one tax structure, unified market is created in India. Hence, absolutely, this is the goal of GST. What is the goal of GST? It has replaced the erstwhile multiple taxes. Look at before that you have central excise tax, central sales tax, central service tax. You have subsumed majority of these things into GST. Similarly, in the states, you have state direct taxes, state indirect taxes, that is called state sales tax, state excise tax. These things were subsumed, and every state used to have different types of taxation structure. All these multiple taxation structures were removed. That is what I said. It has eased the burden of the two people. One person is the so-called the one person who has got the benefit of this is your investors. Due to multiplicity of the taxes, investors used to face difficulty. Now GST has overcome that problem. To the consumer, because of that multiple taxation structure, GST has helped to reduce the so-called financial burden on the people. This is what comment that is made by Nirmala Sitharaman in today's newspaper. If you have observed today's newspaper also, let me show it. What Nirmala Sitharaman has said today. She has commented that because of the GST regime in India, it has brought tax rates down very efficiently. As a result, it is the consumers who has got benefited. This is today's article, November 8, 2023. I am discussing this, and today this is the thing. So GST regime has brought down tax rates very efficiently. As a result, consumers are now paying lesser levies than they did earlier in the direct indirect taxation structure. So that is the reason why GST is important. There was huge news about GST this year, so they can ask this question. Which of the following are so have a look at it again. Coming back to this, it will replace multiple taxes. As a result, investors are going to get benefited. Even the so-called consumers are going to get benefited by this system. It will drastically reduce the current account deficit of India and will enable it to increase its foreign exchange reserves. Yes, it may reduce the current account deficit, but drastically, there is no chance of drastically reducing it. This is something, one extreme statement. Drastically, overnight, now itself, right? These are extremes. So whenever there are some extreme sentences or words in the paragraph, please be careful. They can be not correct, they cannot be correct. So go with this principle of Gautam Buddha, Madhyantara Marge. Look at the moderate terms. Don't look at the extreme terms or radical terms like this. Drastically, enormously, overnight. These things will be maximum 90% of those things will be wrong. So this is another technique that you have to look. It will drastically reduce the current account deficit of India, and they have added one more thing, and will enable it to increase its foreign exchange reserves. Look at this, foreign exchange reserves. How foreign exchange reserves are dependent? It is dependent not just on a current account, it is also dependent on capital account. Yes, current account may drastically, deficit may decrease, but there is no guarantee that it will increase the foreign exchange reserves. What happens if the capital account is negative? Capital account deficit is negative. So these things cannot happen. Look at this, how systematically they should have stopped it here, but they have added one more sentence. Obviously, the first sentence in this entire sentence itself is doubt. First part of the sentence itself is doubt, and that doubt was made to be wrong by the second part of the sentence. So what does it mean? Look at this component. So how forex reserves are determined, guys? I always said this. Forex reserves are determined, or balance of payment. If you go to balance of payment, the components of balance of payment, you have current account, you have capital account. Current account, you have certain things called uh, uh, current account. Look at the so-called taxation structure in the country. Yes, taxation structure may have improved it. Trade in goods, trade in services, incomes, transfers. Next one, capital goods. So once this is positive, then only balance of payment will be positive. Then forex reserves will be positive. That is how forex reserves will be positive. But here they are saying current account deficit will be drastically reduced. Current account means where you are seeing incomes in the form of the so-called taxation. Yes, taxation might improve, but current account deficit is not just indirect taxes. You have direct taxes and other things also. So this statement is absolutely wrong. So already the statement itself was in doubt. That doubt was cleared. How it was cleared? By this statement, the second part of the statement. It will increase its foreign exchange reserves. No. So what is important, guys? You should understand how balance of payment is calculated. Once you know what is balance of payment, then you will understand how this forex reserves is increasing or decreasing. The component or subject is related like that. Then once you understand that, then you will understand whether this is going to be positive or negative. It has no linkage with it. Where this is written in our discussion. I am going to share it when I come to this topic. Right, this topic where we'll discuss, this topic is known as balance of payment topic. In the balance of payments, we will discuss all these components. Look at this. Unless and until you understand this current account component of balance of payment and the capital account component of balance of payment, regulation of BOP, then you will understand to this topic called exchange rates, and then you will come across the topic called, once you understand this you will come with forex reserves. What is the impact of this one? So I am going to share, this is again my class notes on balance of payments. So this is the outline. So I am going to share this also when I come to balance of payment. Today I am not going to share this under this video. Right, this is the thing that I wanted to tell. I will share it when I come to forex reserves on balance of payment. So this is wrong. Now look, it will enormously increase the growth and size of the economy of India and will enable it to take over China in the near future. See, drastically is one extreme thing. So the first part of the sentence we are kept in doubt, but the second point has confirmed that the doubt is true. That is, it is wrong. Similarly, 2 and 3, look at the questions, right? They didn't stop with one sentence. They have, in one sentence, they added 2 parts. So first part is doubtful, second part has cleared that this cannot happen. Look here, it will enormously increase the growth and size of the economy of India. Enormously extreme. Now it will enormously increase the growth and size of economy of India. People might be in doubt too. Maybe, yeah, it may happen. But the question is this one. It will enable to overtake China in the near future. So we are in doubt. It may happen or may not happen. So if you are having that doubt, look at this. That doubt will be cleared, and it will enable to overtake China in the near future. Near future means how? Overnight, 1 month, 10 months, or what is near future? Near future itself is ambiguous term. Near future, for me, near future may be 1 year. For you, it may be 2 years. For some people, it may be 10 years. For some countries, it will be for 100 years. What is near future? Right? They will say, right, for God, 1 Gadiya means for us, it is some generations or some eras. For a human person, for a human being, what is called as era, for a God, it is 1 Gadiya. 1 Gadiya means 1 second for God. So what is near future, guys? Near future, whenever you come across this term called near future, this is an ambiguous term. So you can consider that these type of things will be wrong. Statement has to be clear, but this is unclear. So what is the technique that you have to solve? So this is not going to enormously. So what is the techniques here? So the answer is going to be only one. Look here. What is the techniques? Enormously is an extreme term coupled with the so-called 2 sentences. Already one sentence is doubt, the second sentence is clarifying the doubt. So look at the sentence clearly, look at the 2 parts of the clearly. Even though if the first part you are having doubt, the second part will clear whether the first part is correct or not. That is what I wanted to say. So this is how you have to look at the question and analyze it. Right? This is the one. Next, look at the 9th question. With reference to the Financial Stability and Development Council, consider the following statements. So Financial Stability and Development Council. It was the council which was launched in the year 2010, but the question was asked in 2016 because that was there in news at that point of time. So what is this Financial Stability Development Council? This was the council which was formed by the Ministry of Finance in order to look into the so-called macroeconomic parameters of the country. They will look at how macroeconomic parameters are there, how the public institutions of finance are running. These things they will check, and they will try to bring in the macroeconomic situation of the country into control. Macroeconomic parameters are those parameters which will be impacting the country at a all India level. For example, inflation is a macroeconomic parameter. For example, unemployment is a macroeconomic parameter. For example, COVID vaccination is a macroeconomic parameter. right? These things. Why COVID vaccine is a macroeconomic parameter? Because every Indian has to get vaccination. Even if some people are missed in vaccination, the rest of the disease can come back. So it can spread even if one person is missed. That is called macroeconomic parameters. So on the larger scale of the country, it will have impact. Those things will be discussed by Financial Stability Development Council, right? It is an organ of Niti Aayog. No, this is not an organ of Niti Aayog. This is an independent body headed by Finance Minister. This is correct. It monitors the macroeconomic prudentials of the country. That is what they have given. Yes, it monitors the macroeconomic prudentials of the country. So 2 and 3 statements are correct. That year current affairs, people will try to answer that. But look at it. What is the technique? Whenever you find in a statement like this, councils majority of the times will be headed by the so-called finance, headed by a minister. Councils will be headed by minister. Always remember this. For example, GST Council. Who is the head? Someone type it down after looking at this video. Who is the head of GST Council? Right? But whenever there is commissions or committees, they will be headed by secretaries. That is, officers will be heading it. For example, FRBM committee is headed by NK Singh. NK Singh is not minister. He is an officer, right? So that is the thing. So whenever you come across commissions, Justice Rohini committee or commission, what does she do? Rohini was just, which means she is from this branch, not from the minister branch. So whenever you come across a term called council, even though if you don't know who is heading it, look whether that is given with the so-called minister or not. Look at that. Monetary Policy Committee. Committee is headed by secretaries. Councils are headed by ministers. So please answer this. GST Council, who will be heading it? Monetary Policy Committee, who will be heading it? You will know the difference now. So council, even though if you don't know, minister is heading it, so that has to be correct. So it monitors macroeconomic prudentials. That is what the question is. Financial Stability and Development Council. Look at the term. Term is positive. It is looking at financial stability. Why financial stability? Macro parameters have to be prudent. Prudent is positive. Prudence means it will be growing. It is a positive term. So positive answer has to be correct. Even though if you don't know what is the committee's recommendation or council's objective, look at this. This is a positive thing. It will be doing positive things. It is an organ of Niti Aayog. Many people will confuse it. It is not an organ of Niti Aayog. That is one thing that you have to remember. Now, what is the technique? So people will try to eliminate this. 2, 3 might be correct. Now, 1, whether 1 is correct or not. Maximum, if you look at the previous year questions, maximum number of the times. Again, this has to be applied when you are unable to pick up the answer. Maximum number of the times whenever UPSC gives this thing, this is the organ of this. Say for example, they have given a scheme and they are asking, this is the scheme of this ministry. So if they give like that, maximum number of the times, that will be wrong. So remember, so these type of questions, these type of statements will be wrong in UPSC in the majority of the times. What statement? If they give a statement saying that this is an organ of this commission, or this is the scheme of this ministry, this belongs to this department, like this, majority of the times they will be wrong. This is one blind technique that you have to follow. So what are the 2 techniques? I said councils are headed by ministers, committees and commissions are headed by the so-called secretaries. I asked you a question, please type it and let's look at what it is going to have. The second technique is, whenever there is positive aspect, to look at the positive aspects, then that will be correct. So 2, 3 will be correct here. 1 is wrong because it is that technique at least you can use. So this is the thing that we have to see. Right, so these are the 9 questions. Let's look at the 10th question today. Which of the following are included in the capital budget of Government of India? I said no, right? So you have to know components of budget. Components of budget are extremely important. What are the components we have in budget? There is capital component, there is revenue component. In the revenue component, you have revenue receipts, you have capital receipts. You have revenue receipts and revenue expenses. Capital, you have capital receipts and capital expenses. Now they are asking which among the following are included in the capital budget, which means in the budget they are asking about capital component. So what is capital component, guys? Capital component is something which will create capital assets if it is a capital expenditure, or if it is a capital income. What it has to do? It has to either create liabilities, or either it should reduce some assets. These are the things that we have studied already. Where we have studied, look at my book that I have shared. Here I have clearly discussed this. So the question is about this components of this budget. So they are asking capital component of budget. Look at this capital. The question is this: in the capital side, you have loans, investments, disinvestments, capital expenditure, loans repaid, loans given by government, shares bought by government, capital assets. If you are unable to remember this, I have given a clue. What is the clue? Remember the definition of capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, capital income, revenue income. Then you will understand what exactly is this. Right? Revenue receipts, capital receipts, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. They are asking B and D in this question. So that is going to be the answer. Have a look at it. Expenditure and acquisition of assets like roads, buildings and machinery. Obviously, this is going to create capital assets for the country. Hence, this is going to be capital expenditure. Loans received from foreign investments. Loans received from foreign investments is a income to the government. Which type of income? It is capital income. Why it is capital income? It is going to create a liability on the government. Whatever it creates a liability on the government is a capital income. Loans and advances granted to the states by union territories. Loans and advances granted to the states by union territories. Now, loans and advances granted, which means money is going out. It is expenditure. Which type of expenditure? It is going to create an asset to me. Hence, it is going to be capital expenditure. So, 1, 2, 3, all are correct. So, what is the thing? This is entirely a static part. Extremely important. You have to remember this. Already I have said this, where you have to remember. In this, you have to remember. Look at this. Components of budget. Here I have not given interest rate, calculation of components of budget not given. So in components of budget, you have to look at it. So these are the questions that are there for today, guys. Tomorrow I'll be joining with more things. So if you are interested, please have an idea. If you are not getting anything on clarity, please type it in the commentary box. I will comment it so that it will be very clear. So once you get this clarity, then people will be able to address the questions. Thanks for joining. Have a great day.